Good morning, Warren Peacock here. Today's relative strength matrix shows the Australian dollar losing 4 points again. The volatility continues on the smaller time frames with the Aussie. That hourly chart is forever up and down. The overall trend remains down against the Australian dollar. I expect that to continue into the future. The Canadian dollar has a score of 8. It's down 1 point from last week's score of 9. And that's also on the hourly chart. The Swiss franc still holding reasonably steady between 9, 10, and 11. The euro still holding on to some of its strength. Last week we saw a high of 14 on the euro, and at the moment, it's sitting on a score of 10. The euro remains weak. The You can see on the hourly chart it's down to a score of 1 now. The 4 hourly chart will most likely follow that. Greece is still far away from a resolving their debt repayment issues. I still think the euro is going to continue to weaken over time. The charts at the moment, some of these euro charts are reasonably bullish. Euro against the yen is quite bullish. Euro against the Australian dollar is quite bullish, but I think the euro is going to end up joining those two in the weaker section over the coming weeks, unless some miracle happens in Greece. The Japanese yen was the biggest gainer. Sorry, let's just go back to the pound here. Pound has a score of 16. That's holding on to its strength. Last week you saw it go from 12 to 13, 13, 16, and it's still holding on to 16. Hourly chart still looking strong. The 4 hourly chart on 5 and the daily chart on 5. The pound's maximum score is 6, so it's only 2 points away from its all-time maximum. So that pound strength certainly coming through in the charts, and that looks pretty much set to continue in its uptrend. There have been short-term retracements, but the charts have remained bullish. The Japanese yen gained a couple of points over the weekend again, and that was all on the hourly chart, has a score of 4 on the hourly, and we saw it gain 1 point on the 4 hourly chart, and that is against the Australian dollar. So I don't see that as too serious. The yen is also most likely going to continue to weaken as they continue with their QE program. So Japanese yen weakness is most likely going to follow through. The dollar is a bit of a concern. Quite a bit of volatility on the US dollar now. You can see last week it was on a score of 17 overall, dropped to 12, 9, 11, and then this morning it started the day on a 10. The hourly chart with a score of 2, 4 hourly chart on 3. The daily charts are still pretty strong on the dollar, but it's a bit of a concern. The dollar index remains in that downward channel. It hasn't turned into a bull flag yet. It probably only has this week to do so. Otherwise, it just becomes a downward trending channel, and then bull flag is out the window. That's my expectation. Dollar weakness, yeah, the numbers weren't that bad out of the States. The market doesn't quite know what to do with the dollar at the moment, expecting interest rates to go up, and that might just follow through into some strength. The daily remains strong. It's the two smaller time frames that are quite volatile. The hourly, especially, is changing shape quite a bit. So keeping an eye on the dollar. The scores leave us with the pound as the strongest, and the yen is the weakest overall scores. On the daily chart, we've got the pound and the dollar still holding strong. The yen is continuing to be the weakest, so those are probably the trades you want to take. Personally, I'm looking at the pound strength to go against the yen, and then the US dollar, as I say, taking it a bit careful against the dollar to see where that goes in the future. The 4 hourly chart here has the euro as the strongest, and the yen and the Aussie as the weakest. Um, and again, yeah, the euro overall is expected to weaken. It's not really showing signs of overall strength. The yen certainly weak, and the Australian dollar I expect to continue to weaken. So on the 4 hourly basis, I'm not too keen on these, although the euro yen chart is pretty solid in an uptrend. The hourly gives us the pound as the strongest and the euro as the weakest, and we can see the euro crossing over on the hourly charts going weaker. On the 4 hourly chart, still reasonably strong. I do expect that euro to continue to weaken, but probably euro yen is going to be steady. We're going to actually have a look at these charts, and we see the pound yen continues to hold above its resistance breakout. That yellow line there is still looking strong. That big red move over here was, Bank of Japan making those statements that the yen is unlikely to weaken further. Market quickly bought some yen, and then Bank of Japan came out and said, sorry, that was an irresponsible comment. Market bought it back. It tried to pip the highs. It managed to hold above it for a while. Then this morning it's pulling back below that resistance level. Short-term resistance, we'll have to see, but that trend is pretty strong. The dollar to the yen, we saw that breakout. We've been following it for a while. It's coming back. It's found some support around the moving averages. At this point, I'm not too sure what's going to happen next. We could probably use a 4-hourly chart for a buying opportunity. And at this point, there's no real area to draw trend lines or anything, so dollar yen we probably have to wait another day. The euro yen on the 4-hourly, you can see that channel. You can probably draw in some trend lines. I can just make it like that. That can be an early entry signal. It's finding some support down here on the 89 moving average. The euro gapped on all the euro pairs. There's a gap on the euro pairs, so and that was just based on Greece and eurozone not coming to any agreement on debt payment. The euro to the Oz, and that's on also on the 4-hourly chart. I've spoken about this pair a few times. I'm not really interested in trading the euro against the Australian dollar. The chart is not the easiest thing in the world. If you are a short-term swing trader, there are some great opportunities, but for trend, certainly not. The euro to the pound, this is an interesting chart. If we go to a daily, we can see that trend is strongly in place. We've had this consolidation going on. Until that breaks, just be a little bit careful when you trade it. On the 4-hourly chart, consolidation is nice and clear. It's a bit of a it's a bit of an odd shape going on here. No real chart pattern, just consolidating. Certainly looks like a medium-term short coming up there. And on the hourly chart, that short fired already last week. It's broken through support. The next target level is most likely down here. And if you were a short-term trader, you would be watching the support level, and the trend is strongly down. So I would expect shorts to be the better play, and patience will pay off at the end. Thank you very much, and we'll chat again tomorrow.